Welcome to the Opinionated Geek podcast. I am your host, John Hanna. This is episode 26, I believe. Sorry, I moved my mic a little bit. It's probably gonna be another short one, but we'll see. There's not a whole lot going on. I've been having a hard time getting back into the groove of things from freaking vacation, which I should be long gotten used to everything by now. But nonetheless, I haven't been streaming a whole lot. So yeah, I didn't even stream last night. I was just dead beat. And then tomorrow I got to go into work early, an hour early, so I would need to go to bed a little bit earlier tonight. But anyway, we'll start talking about what I've been doing if I haven't been streaming. I have been getting ready for my D&D campaign, and it is a slow process. I finally got my one of my first players' characters into Fantasy Grounds, so that's the first thing to get involved with there. I've also have been working on doing little maps and stuff, and so that'll be the first thing I actually talk about. I don't know where this came up, but this program came up on my radar about maybe 2 months ago, and it is a really cool application program, whatever you want to call it, for PC and now Mac. I'm kind of hoping they'll do Linux maybe in the future, but we'll see. But basically what this is on its surface, when you just like glance at it, it's basically a world builder. I wouldn't say world builder. It might be a little bit more difficult to do worlds per se. You'd have to add a little bit more detail to everything. But the tools that it's designed for is to create encounters to have your characters do battling and stuff like that. So it's got all the stuff kind of like built in. It's got the what you call it, the grids. Say you can do a 5x5 grid, and now I'm having this dog be annoying. Okay, and hopefully he won't do that again, but he probably will. So they give you a whole bunch of like assets and stuff, and then you can easily make your world right off the bat. You can like to start doing it with grass and stuff. You just basically pick your terrain that you want to do, and then basically you just drag and drop with how many squares you want to do, and it just plops it out there. And of course they give you a whole bunch of interesting things, like they have special formats for walls. Walls do some special stuff. And the shadowing works perfectly, so you can actually say, oh, look, there's a wall. So when you lay down the wall, it actually looks like a wall that's standing. And this is all from top down. I'm sure you can use asymmetrical assets if you want. I haven't tried that yet, but I do have some. And that's the cool thing about this thing, is you can bring in your own assets. I found a Google Drive folder from somebody who shared theirs, and they have literally thousands of stuff that I can add into it. Now, the only problem with it is right now, and of course, I Twittered them and said it would be kind of cool if the browser, I can actually see what I'm actually going to put into the game. And that's where its downfall is, for me anyway. Now, they have a solution, but the solution is taking up my time. That's the solution. But they have a asset creator, and basically what you do is you start up the creator, you type in what you want this asset bundle to be called, and then you manually find the stuff that you want to put in there for that specific thing. Like if you want trees, then you're going to put trees in it. And it's just a long process. I'm like, I already have everything organized from that Google file. I just want to be able to see it when I go to search for an asset. Now, I realize once everything's put into it, it will be fine, but that is still a huge undertaking, like hours worth of undertaking to start adding stuff. Because even when you, because there's different roles for terrain and walls and stuff like that, then you actually have to put those things in specific sections for the asset creator thing. So, but overall, it is really good. It's pretty intuitive. I did come across a weird thing where I saved my map and then I went and attempted to open it up again, and some of my terrain was gone. I'm not sure why that was, but I had to put it in again. But it was a fairly easy fix, but it did cause my map to mess up somehow, whether it was user error or what. But it's really cool though because it doesn't stop there. Now, this program will be perfect for people that want to go into the 21st century with Dungeons and Dragons or whatever your game of choice might be, but still stick with pen and paper. So what this allows you to do is create your maps, but not only that, is this is a program to be used on the tabletop. So it's got built in, you can do video animations, so you can have a stream of water moving. You can have birds flying. You can have fire burning, and what else? Like trees moving from the wind. So you can have all that. Now, granted, I don't know who does animations for this type of thing, but they actually show examples on their videos, and it looks super cool. So you can do that, and then on top of that, when you're into the DM like mode area, they also have Fog of War, so you can actually release show the map slowly over time as people start exploring the map as your the characters, and then on top of that, you actually have sound effects too. So it's got this all built in where you can actually have your horses going, your fire crackling, animals in the woods like making noise and stuff like that. It's got all this built in. It's got music, and the music's actually really cool because it's all what you call it mixable. So if you want a one piece of music at one specific time, but you don't want the drums, you can actually either it's a volume control, so you can either like completely get rid of it completely, or you can have it like slowly in the background. You could actually use that for like if orcs were coming and they're doing their like battle drums or whatever, you can actually have the volume slowly go up if you wanted to. And even on top of that, it's got dynamic lighting. So essentially, if you say you have a fire burning, you can actually have a slider where you can actually go from morning all the way to afternoon, going into night, and it will shift the lighting of the world, or aka the map that you're working on, and then anything you have on the map that has a light source put onto it, like you can have the fire, for example, it'll actually light up the area of the map, and of course you can adjust the amount of fire light source, so you can actually have it go out pretty far, or you can have it pretty dim. So naturally, if you got a candle, you don't want the candle to be as big of a light source as the campfire. So you can adjust all that stuff, and you can do it on the fly too. And the cool thing is, on top of that, they if you are moving the light around, it actually knows what you have put down as far as assets go. So then it will actually, when you put down a tree, the tree will cast a shadow, for example. Now they've just recently upgraded the application. By the way, this program's still in alpha, which is incredible how well they're doing, and they're still going to keep on putting more and more and more stuff into it. In fact, it's actually going to get more and more DM related, so it's going to be a lot more easier for the DM to track stuff and whatnot. But nonetheless, it's still going to be pen and paper like driven, but yet still be usable at the table. Because right now, even some of my groups, I would like to do 100% fantasy grounds. Everybody just use fantasy grounds at the table, but some of the people are just like, I want my pen and paper because I've had 30 years of using pen and paper, and that's just what I feel comfortable with. So I'm like, that's cool. So that's what this is kind of meant for, and you never know. I might have Arkenforge as the map and stuff, and use Fantasy Grounds as my main uh, app for me. But what's really, really nifty is they have upgraded the app now that you can actually have invisible walls. What's that for? What's the point of that? Well, it's for the dynamic lighting. So there's multiple ways that you can do stuff. You can make everything from scratch, or you can bring in a map that's already been made. Like, for example, I'm doing a Tomb of Annihilation. They actually have maps that you can actually download already already made. But the problem is they're not made for Arkenforge. They're just made to be used. Uh, just like, printed out type of thing. Well, that's where the invisible walls come from. Now you can start making little invisible walls around things. So when it does cast a light source, for example, it knows to cast it in the proper way. So, for example, if you're going down a hallway, obviously your light source isn't going to go through walls, so you have to build invisible barriers so the light source knows, oh, let's go down this way. It's a hallway. It's not just going to, keep on going in a completely regular circle. So, again, this thing hasn't been out. I think it started like around the end of December. I believe they did a Kickstarter. I never heard of it, which is really weird, but I guess they made enough money that they were going to go through with it anyway. So now it's also designed for, they got a whole bunch of ways to export this stuff. You can, export it, your typical way. You got PDF, you got JPEG, you got all this stuff. Then the other cool thing is they also have it so you can actually print it out. So when you actually select the area of the area where you want to print it out, it'll actually show you the actual sheets and where it's going to print out. So then you can actually, save it as like I believe you'd probably want to do it as a PDF for that. I'm not sure because I don't plan on printing it out. I just plan on bringing it into Fantasy Grounds. But you can actually have it so the maps are printable. Now, what they've done also is if you go into their website, or I found out on mainly their YouTube, but I'm sure they have it also on their website. But they make two different types of tables. I wouldn't say tables, but map stands. They got a purely digital, which is basically just a TV essentially, and then you lay it down and ta-da. But I'm sure they have some sort of protector over it because the idea is you got everything in this program, so you're going to have your characters just your little miniatures being placed right on the TV. So I imagine they'll have like a protective layer over the TV. And if you were going to do it as well, you would want a protective layer over your, like a plexiglass over your TV. But since it's got the everything already designed the way it should be, uh, it works pretty much right out of the gate. And then they also have for the poor man who I guess can't afford a TV or whatever, or just doesn't want to go that way. They have, but I would think this is just as expensive. Most people already have a flat screen TV. You can actually just take one from your living room, take it off the stand, and turn it sideways. You need a little bit of a stand for it to lift it up off the table, so that way cords and stuff don't get messed up. But they also have a analog platform. So then this it's an option, but to me it looks like it would be very annoying to set up. But it's designed so when you do print those pieces of paper off, it's actually it is what it is. You basically have a uh, it's almost like a press. You think of like a press, but have a clear top on it. And basically, what you do is when you print it out, you cut out the paper, and then you place them in the order that it's supposed to go. And then you lay down the plexiglass thing, screw it down, and then you got your map for that setting. My thing is, and this is to me would be annoying, is because they are like 10 separate pieces of paper or whatever. Then you got to make sure that they're lined up just right, and then when you actually put it down, that it doesn't somehow become disaligned and all that stuff. But again, it's an option for people that might not want to go to the digital route, and that's another cool option. uh they're doing really good steps, I think, in the way that most people, I think, want Dungeons and Dragons to be, with when it comes to technology. I don't know a whole lot of people that want to do the pure technology route unless they're just can't meet in person. They want to do the whole let's stream and go on Skype or Discord, and we can chat via that way, and then we can actually use Fantasy Grounds or Roll 20 as the platform to play in when we can't physically be together. Where this one does it where it's like we're focusing on map building because really that's the only thing that we need to do to make the world come to life. The characters you bring to life, uh the world, uh the dungeon master brings to life, but the physical battlefields and stuff, those are the things that they don't I don't think get described as well as they should when it comes to the DM. The DM can build a world as you're exploring the world, as you're interacting with the world, but it seems like as soon as there's a fight, the world kind of fades away, and you're just focusing on the attacking aspect of it, and you don't really pay attention so much on what you're actually where you're at when you're fighting. So I think this kind of can help bridge that gap. Uh, it's a really good deal. I actually missed the early access price, but it's $25 for the it was $25, and they upped it only to $30. So at $30, it's a steal. And they said basically once you pay for it, you won't have to pay for it ever again, type of thing. So it's one of the things where if you're wanting to DM and wanting really cool maps and stuff that you can actually make yourself, or you can find some more maps online and flesh it out some more. But then you're going to have to do the invisible barriers, which that could be time consuming in of itself. But if you have to use them, you have to use them. But I think this is really cool, and the fact that you can add your own assets. So even if you don't like the assets that come with it, you can actually find better ones that you might like. But for the most part, I they seem decently good assets. I'm kind of, combining the stuff that I find online and the ones that come with Arkenforge. Uh, but very, very cool. I highly recommend it. Uh, but yeah, anytime I am going to make a map, I'm probably going to stream making it. I already made one, and I wanted to actually get the picture to show as I'm doing this podcast, but I forgot to put it in the sources. I guess I could pop it in really quick, but I won't. But anyway, this is definitely a good option for those people that like the idea of a digital map but don't want anything else digital. And the fact that they're making it come to life with the sound effects, with the video options. But yeah, I highly recommend it. $30, can't go wrong. And then they're going to keep on adding more stuff, and they're doing pretty good as far as the release times. Uh, what else did they do? Oh, they announced also just recently, which I'm not too big of a fan. To me, it's like, okay, that's great to a certain extent, but they've added a third party store where you can create tiles. I'm hoping it's going to be more than tiles. I'll buy assets wholeheartedly, but I'm not a fan of tiles too much. It looks kind of cool and all, but it also doesn't at the same time. But the tiles are kind of like you have literally a big square of something, and it's like a map already pre-made, but it's only part of a map, and then you can take those tiles and make a unique map. Uh, so yeah, but for the most part, if you're only getting like a couple of those tiles, you need to buy more, and then if those other tiles don't match up quite right, it's just I'm not a big fan of tiles. I'll it's one of the things where I'll make it. Don't get me wrong, they look beautiful because they're made specifically to look almost as realistic as possible, and they're made by professionals. So there's no doubt about it. They look beautiful, but they are, my guess is, a little bit annoying to use. In fact, actually, they when they're showing a video about it, they're like, oh, and then you got the plains area with the trees and stuff, and then you got this rocky area, and then we even give you a what you call it, a transitional tile where it can basically go to the grassy to the rocky part. But the way the way the tile was designed, if you see it in the video where he has the transitional tile moved over one one section, like the 5 feet squares, it's moved over one whole column. So basically, then the whole thing shifted because, again, it just the way they have everything set up, it's just, to me, it's a great idea, but it's just no. It's a no for me. Uh, if they would add those tiles, and then you also got some assets, like individual assets that you can't get anywhere else, and they do have a couple of those, uh, I would be all for it. But a lot of them are just the tiles, and then they want like, you know, $15 for some, and they're just the tiles. They do have a lot of $5 ones, but you got some $15 ones. I'm like, it's not worth it for like 7 tiles. Uh, but that's just my thought. Again, anybody can do whatever the heck they want with it, and that's the kind of the beauty of the system. But anyway, again, Arkenforge, highly recommend it if you actually want to make maps or encounters or whatever. And that's what I've basically been doing. Uh, and we're almost at a half an hour, so that was pretty good. Now we're going to go into basically some news. Konami, they pulled the PC remake from the the internet, essentially, by saying, if you don't take that down, we're going to sue you, because it was fan made. Here's my thing. I don't quite understand what the deal is. Maybe somebody can educate me. Why is it when it comes to Star Wars, I'm not sure with Disney owning them now, but you could actually make all the fan films you wanted. You couldn't profit off of them, but you could make all the fan films you wanted. Nothing. No big deal. That's cool. Congratulations for making an awesome film. You know, there was no big deal about it. Why is it that Star Wars can do this stuff, or fans can do the Star Wars stuff without any repercussions? As long as they're not making profit off of it and not selling it, I feel like it should be okay legally. But again, I'm not a professional or know any of this stuff, but whenever somebody makes a game and they put it out for free, nobody is able to do it. They get so far, and then somebody comes and drops the hammer on them. It's like, get it off or we're going to sue you, type of thing, or take you to court or whatever. I don't understand it. I'm like, I can understand it if they're like, okay, I'm making this game, and especially if you steal assets and then try to make a profit off it. But if you put in all the hard work and make everything yourself, I feel like you should be good. But anyway, so what they did then was they said, hey, take it down, but what we'll do is offer you an internship. Now, at first you were like, oh man, internship at Konami because I basically remade a game that they did. That's pretty cool. But then you realize Konami's not making any games. They're kind of dead. They're basically just giving up on the whole video game scene in general, if you ask me. Now, they did bring out Metal Gear Survive. I will not buy that, and I hope nobody I know has bought it. I can understand if you're in game journalism, you want to get your review out there and all that stuff, and it might be something that you have to buy in order to play it, in order to give your opinion on it. But I refuse to buy something like that because it's just a money grab. They've, they're known for doing the whole, let's turn our franchises that we have owned and turn them into what's it called? Pachinko machines. There we go. And yeah, I just wouldn't take the internship at all, because that's exactly what's going to happen. Is the guy's going to take an internship, and I'm like, can we make some games? It's like, Konami's like, no, we don't make games anymore. So that's kind of the way I feel about that. But good for him though. At least he got something out of this thing. I hope it does make him go somewhere instead of just having to pull his game off the internet and then find out the internship just really doesn't get him anywhere at all. Next one bit of news is, I'm sure everybody has seen this, but if you haven't, speaking of fan-made films and how it seems like Star Wars, you can make all the fan-made films you want and nobody cares. And then when it comes to video games, it's quite the opposite. So we'll see if this gets pulled or not. I hope it stays up, but somehow he apparently did say how it actually came about, but I didn't get to read the article yet. But Nathan Fillian is part of a fan-made film of an Uncharted short movie. It's around 15 minutes, but it's pretty cool, especially if you're a fan of the Uncharted franchise. go on YouTube and look up Uncharted and Nathan Fillian, and I'm sure it'll pop up if you haven't seen it. Uh, I could definitely see where, Nathan Fillion, he makes some facial expressions that I'm like, that doesn't seem like a Nathan Drake facial expression. But again, most of the time, though, he pulls off the Nathan Drake pretty well. Even though he's getting to be a little bit up in age compared to what Nathan Drake is age wise. I feel like Nathan Drake is kind of in his like 30s, and I think Fillion, well, he looks like he's in his 40s, maybe 50s. I don't know, but he's definitely 40s. So he has that, getting up there in age type of thing. So it's like one of the things where if you're going to make a franchise and you're going to make him the lead, you better get on it, because otherwise he's going to start, doing that whole aging thing. But very cool. I wish they would have done a little bit more. Let's go into the jungle type stuff, and let's go to a secret tomb or whatever. But for the most part, it had a, an Uncharted vibe to it, and it was, done around a mansion and some drug cartel type people. So they did a pretty good job of what they had. The cinematography was awesome for a fan made film. Granted, when you got Nathan Fillion, I would assume you actually have some good professional amateur type person that knows how to actually make a film look good to begin with. But anyway, go check that out if you haven't. And now we move on to more crappy animation. They have announced, or at least they've announced a while ago, but now they've officially brought out images that to show what the new Netflix She-Ra cartoon is going to look like. And to be honest with you, it sucks. I don't understand why people can't do animation well anymore, or why studios don't want. I mean, I kind of went over it. It's the whole quality versus quantity issue where you need to pop out shows and you need just be able to do animation very quickly and pop out the shows type of thing. It's not like back in the day anymore where money is time, they think nowadays, compared to apparently in the 80s, apparently money wasn't time, which it was. It's just you just have better quality. Now, I can't be sure because they don't show enough of the pictures, but some of the pictures kind of did look like the backgrounds were actually hand painted and drawn like the old 80s shows, which I think that's what I think that's part of the magic of those old cartoons. A lot of the backgrounds were actually painted on instead of just, doing the crappy coloring that they do. I'm not sure about the modern process of doing cartoons, but it looks everything all looks the same. Where the 80s, you had these really cool, amazing looking backgrounds with your basic animation type of thing, but the animation still had enough detail that it looked cool too. But the backgrounds were really the things that I found that really draw my attention. And when I think of the uniqueness of older cartoons, it's the backgrounds and how they're hand painted. So anyway, She-Ra, to be honest with you, if as long as you don't want to get stereotypical, let's say guys with long hair, okay? She looks like a guy that has a skirt and Spanx on. I guess that's what they're called. And a red cape type of thing. It's just it's a very what do you want to call it? Androgynous? Is that the term? Where, it's like, is it a male? Is it a female? Who knows? And I know that's probably the vibe that they're trying to get on, because that's the whole idea that like, you can be whoever you want to be nowadays, right? So I almost guarantee that's the what they were trying to go for. It's like, uh, it could be a man or a girl, but obviously it's a she-ra, so it's a girl. But yeah, overall, these new cartoons coming out, they're just horrible. If I remember correctly, the DuckTales one looked horrible. The Thundercats one looked horrible. This one looks horrible. Uh, and then what's funny is my one of my favorite Dungeons and Dragons podcasts is Critical Role, and one of their sponsors is D&D Beyond, which is kind of like the official digital books for Dungeons and Dragons, and it allows you to create characters and stuff like that. Just it's kind of like a whole digital thing for players and DMs to, uh, you know, play the game. But to me, it's a little convoluted to me. But either way, there's Critical Role's being sponsored this season by D&D Beyond, and one of the guys always has to create something kind of funny to promote the D&D Beyond, and he created like a little song, and that little song turned into an actual music video, and they actually made a cartoon animated film, or I guess music video, not film, but within that little couple minutes span, they did a way better job, and it didn't take that long either because that wasn't that long ago when he did that little song. So they re-recorded it. I believe he actually did the lyrics as well, and again, and of course they added a little bit more professional, and they got music and all that stuff. But the animation is awesome, and I'm like, why can't they do that everywhere? Why is a little music video that isn't even going to get the play that a TV show gets more love and care than an actual TV show that will continue to make them money? That's like the Berserk anime. The Berserk anime, the original, I think it's 97 that it came out. That was awesome. Great old school anime. And then they can like, okay, we're going to make these new ones and want to call it, basically season 2 and then season 3 of Berserk. Kind of saying these are the same thing as the old one, and it's horrendous. Horrendous animation. As they throw in 3D graphics in there, and even some of the sound effects are bad. It's just, I don't understand why you have to make a product so crappy. And I'm trying to be one of them things was like, well, maybe I'm out of touch. I'm like, I need to put my personality into a kid. Well, for one thing, Berserk is not for kids at all, and if you see your kids watching Berserk, have them turn it off. So again, even that is not geared towards kids, it's geared towards adults, and they give you this horrible, crappy looking animation, and they're like, what, this isn't what you wanted? It's like, no. It's like, it's bad enough when it comes to stories that they're not going to be accurate as the other ones. The stories are not going to be lined up, and it's not going to be accurate. But then on top of that, you do a disservice by giving them crappy animation on top of that. It's like you guys don't even care about anything. You just were like, well, maybe we can get a couple advertisers, or get in case of Berserk, maybe a couple more subscriptions to Crunchyroll. So it's annoying. And yeah, apparently they're going to be bringing back also Rugrats, and they're going to be a live action movie. That sounds horrible. So anyway, I'm getting, I guess, into that grumpy old man, like this part of my life where I'm like everything they're doing, they're ruining my childhood type of thing. I'm like, they're not gonna ruin my childhood because I'm not even gonna watch any of this stuff. But it's just a shame that the kids growing up won't get to experience really good art. I'm sure certain kids might grow up and it's like, yeah, that's the art I want to do. But it seems like everything goes down, nothing ever goes up. If you know what I'm saying. So if kids are seeing this animation and this is the animation that they get inspired by, they're going to do their own type of animation, and then it's not going to be as good as even this animation type of thing. I don't know. Where I would like to continue to see cool animations, so inspire your kids, go have them watch old cartoons if you're going to, have them watch cartoons. And what's weird is when it comes to the cartoons and stuff like that, they're always like, "Well, it's not relatable anymore." And I'm like, "Yes, it is." Scooby Doo was a cartoon my mom grew up with. I still watch that every morning before I went to school. It doesn't matter about the age difference. It's a cartoon and it's meant for kids and it's designed for kids. Okay, so they might have uh, a rotodial type phone instead of a cell phone. Who cares? They get the gist of it. They know the concepts. They don't have to have, oh, Jimmy isn't is playing a board game and he isn't on his tablet. How can I relate to this? It's like you can, because it's the little nuanced stuff that people are like, well, it's not relatable to the kids nowadays. It's like, no, it is. It's just for some reason we always have to keep on bringing out new stuff when we got really great stuff. Which, granted, with the beard, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's just like razors. We keep on bringing out these more and more and more and more advanced, so-called advanced razors, and where they got 5 blades, 6 blades, 7 blades, and the best shave I will ever get is from a single blade safety razor. And again, that goes back to, oh, it's a return of the century type item. It's got to suck. Why would Gillette make a new product if the old one was so good? Because it keeps on making them money. After you watch the I don't know why it matters like that, but it does. But you think it wouldn't. It's like, yes, there's, like, for example, reruns, but there's always new people watching those reruns if you actually allow them to. It's like, I'm sure there's a new generation learning about MASH and watching it on Hulu right now. But anyway, I'll get off of that topic and just call it a night. Hey, went 45 minutes. 47 minutes, I'm sorry. So, yeah, that's my podcast for today. I'll stop my complaining. And I will hopefully update you more on the D&D situation. I'm not sure if I said it, but I did get my first player character into Fantasy Grounds. So that is one character out of 6. So I have to wait for the other guys to give me their characters, and then I gotta work with the players to make sure their characters can be a little bit fleshed out. And it's a little bit difficult with the Dungeons and Dragons, because it's like, unless they have a clear, concise idea on their background characters, or their character's background, I want there's a part of me, I want to create the backgrounds. I want to flesh it out. And like, I just got a email back from the player whose character he gave me, and he's like, "Well, what do you have an idea about his debt? Because he has he it's kind of like a Han Solo background. He's like he's got an old debt that he's got to pay off type of thing, and he's like, "Well, what did you have in mind?" I'm like, "Well, what did you have in mind? Because if I have something in mind, I want it to be a surprise for you. So, as far as I'm concerned, I want to keep the idea to myself because when I reveal it, I want you to be as shocked as everybody else in the room, and I want the story to unfold as uh basically the story I want it to unfold for you and for you to experience the story as well as the other characters around the table. And if I say, well, this is the guy that you're trying to collect a debt, who you got screwed by with the debt, or who you screwed over, I should say. And I want all that to kind of be a secret. Now, obviously, it's kind of weird that that person wouldn't know uh the person's debt, who he was actually for. But I could do an actual, I guess, more of a kingpin type of situation where you thought the person that you owed money to was one person, but in reality, he was going to give the money to somebody else, type of thing. So I could do something like that, like do a kind of like a rope a dope surprise thing. Uh, but anyway, we're going to try to make this a wild, interesting ride for both myself and the players because I really want it. When I listen to Critical Role, I want I want that experience so bad where they actually have really cool interactions with the players. They have really cool interactions with the DM where it's almost like they're collaborating a story and they don't even realize what's unfolding until it starts to unfold. And I want that so bad. And it seems like with most of the games I've played with the group, I have to basically, if I want a backstory, if I want something to happen to my character, and it always depends on the DM if they even want to do that. It's almost like it's like here I'm going to give you everything, every little ounce of my character background, and you don't have to fill in any of the blanks, type of thing. And you're just going to have that stuff kind of unfold as it comes about. And I don't want that. I want the characters to have a little bit of a background, have a little bit of an idea about the background, but I want it to be a story where I'm like, oh my god, this is so awesome. Have these characters evolve into something uh, because of their background, not have stuff happen just because of the background. I want the characters to evolve into something better or at least interesting. Anyway, we'll call it. We're at 51 minutes, 52 almost. So we're going to call it. Thanks for listening and watching. I'll see y'all next week, and I'm probably going to stream then some this week if I can. Again, the D&D stuff is really starting to creep up because it's going to have to start at the end of the month to play the game. Anyway, I will see y'all next week. Bye.